Good to see you guys.
Good to be here. Good to see you.
Thank you for having us today.
Thank you.
Well, good morning. It's great to be in Palm Beach County. I want to thank the county mayor, Mayor Kerner, for joining us. Also want to thank the Palm Beach Health Department for all they've been doing over these many months, in particular with this effort. Exactly 1 week ago, I signed an executive order that prioritized COVID-19 vaccinations in the state of Florida. And that priority was first and foremost, once we did the nursing homes and the healthcare workers, were our general senior citizen population age 65 and up. That's the population that's been most at risk for COVID. It's impacted their lives greater, and we have a responsibility to stand by those folks who've done so much to make our state and country what it is today. And I'd say particularly, and Mayor and I were talking about it, you talk about a place like Kings Point. You have people who are in the greatest generation. You have people who fought in World War II, survived the Holocaust. These are people that we've got to stand with and prioritize. And so today, we're seeing that prioritization in practice. The Palm Beach County Health Department will administer vaccines to 300 residents of Kings Point, all of whom are age 65 and older, and some of them are significantly older than 65. So for right now, remember, we got the first week, we got only Pfizer vaccine. It was about 180,000 doses, and that was divided between 5 of kind of the main hospital systems throughout the state. We were only allowed to choose 5. We also earmarked some for CVS and Walgreens for the long-term care facility mission. And then the state took 20,000 for our own strike teams because we wanted to get into the long-term care facilities as soon as possible and do that. Last week, the rest of the hospitals, the major hospitals, over 170 of them received the Moderna vaccine. So that was about 367,000 doses that were received. Now, most of this was received a day or two before Christmas, so they were working on vaccinating their staff. You did see a decline Christmas Eve and Christmas, pick back up a little bit. We anticipate there'll be a decline in the New Year's Eve and New Year's, but they now have the Moderna vaccine, and the 5 hospitals are continuing to receive the Pfizer vaccine. The main ways to get it for members of the community are through county health departments in partnership with county emergency managers, and then through the hospitals. And we really trust our hospitals to be able to offer vaccinations for members of the community because they take care. These are the communities that they take care of. So they're going to continue to be given major allotments of the vaccine, and their mission, of course, will be to focus on those 65 and up once they're through getting through their high contact doctors, nurses, and other medical personnel. Now, each county health department will be offering the vaccine in ways that best fit the needs of that particular community. So some county health departments will deploy teams to senior communities like we see here in Palm Beach County at Kings Point. Some county health departments will be offering vaccines at a specific location. Some will employ a hybrid of the two. Either way, the county health departments will be communicating how and when they will be administering vaccine to the seniors in their counties. So currently, right now, in addition to Palm Beach County, the following county health departments are offering a limited supply of vaccine to seniors: Miami-Dade, Lee, Escambia, Leon, Duval, Orange, and Seminole. We do anticipate the rest, 57 other counties, getting Moderna vaccine this week, and then obviously they will be working with seniors in their community to provide vaccinations. And so by the time we get into next week, we hope to have all these counties offering the vaccine in one form or another, either by doing pods like we see here today, or having a specific location, or a hybrid of the two. But Floridians should also check with their local hospitals, the websites in particular, to see if they have started offering vaccines to seniors in the community. The hospitals that got the Pfizer vaccine have probably gotten through their workers quicker than the hospitals that didn't get the vaccine until right before Christmas when they got the Moderna vaccine. Either way, I think everyone's on the same page to say, okay, once these nurses and doctors and other key medical personnel get it, we want to work with our elderly population to be able to offer it to them. The Florida State Emergency Response Team asked hospitals to create and immediately begin executing plans to vaccinate seniors as soon as they complete vaccinating their frontline workers. And so if you have a hospital that's not yet offering it to seniors, they likely will be very soon. They may still be working through their doctors and nurses and other health professionals. Importantly, whether you go to a county vaccination site or hospital, the COVID-19 vaccine supply is still limited. We don't have enough vaccine currently on hand for all 4 million plus senior citizens in the state of Florida. Now, we will get there, but it's not going to happen overnight. So please be patient. We want to get as many people access to this as soon as possible. We do feel that the supply is starting to come at a pretty good rhythm, and I think people now have a little bit better sense of how this is going to go. I mean, for example, a lot of the hospitals, they didn't know what percentage of their workers were actually going to want to take the vaccine. Now they get a better sense of that. When we've gone to nursing homes, you have a certain percentage of nursing home residents who opt for it. Some of them don't. So we kind of get a sense of what the needs are there, and I think people are going to be able to get in a rhythm. So despite the temporary limited supply, seniors are going to be our focus. There was a recommendation from CDC that you do so-called essential workers, which is a whole host of problems just saying what's essential or not. Because I can tell you, there's a lot of people that work really hard that the CDC doesn't consider essential, but their family considers them essential. I consider them essential in the state of Florida. But we were not going to be putting young people ahead of our elderly population, and I think that recommendation would have done that. If you have somebody that works for a grocery store and food services that may be 22, they would actually have priority over a senior that was 73 or 74. We believe that the better approach is to focus on the elderly first and foremost, then we'll get in to essential workers. Now, there's news about this Astrazeneca vaccine that the Brits are approving. They have not yet filed for emergency use authorization in the United States. I anticipate that that'll happen soon. That will obviously potentially make more supply in the United States available. That does require 2 shots, though. Some people have been saying it's only 1. That's the Johnson & Johnson, which they have not published data on that yet. We hope this month, in January, that'll happen, and hopefully they'll be able to file for EUA sometime in late January, early February. But that AstraZeneca, we assume that they're going to probably want to apply for EUA in the United States. It is two doses, but that will help us as well. It seems like the data has been pretty good. Obviously, there's going to be a process where they're going to be able to do that. But for people who are younger, who may want it, who are in the workforce, there is going to be the time where that's going to be available. Between what we have now with the supply lines and Pfizer and Moderna, I mean, these are tens of millions of doses in the United States, over the next many months. You have the AstraZeneca. It looks like maybe something that will be a live possibility, and the Johnson & Johnson vaccine would be perfect for essential workers. So that'll be, well, really all workers. I mean, we're not going to make those distinctions. We view everyone as important, but those will be available in due time. But the priority now has got to be with our elderly population, our parents and our grandparents. So we're pleased with some of the headway that Florida's been able to make in terms of vaccine administration. We were the first state in the nation to begin offering vaccines to staff and residents of long-term care facilities. That's been our #1 priority. Now, the federal government has partnered with CVS and Walgreens to be able to administer those vaccinations in those particular areas. We believe that needed to start right away, and so when there was a little lag that was apparent, we created strike teams, and we were able to do over 100 facilities in Pinellas and Broward counties. They have a high concentration of those facilities, and these strike teams are going to continue to supplement the mission in our long-term care facilities and hopefully be a force multiplier in addition to CVS and Walgreens. We were also the first state in the nation to begin offering vaccines to EMTs and to paramedics. And we're now the first state in the nation to mobilize our county health departments and county emergency managers to actively vaccinate seniors in our communities. And so here is week 3 of vaccine. And so the progress over the last 3 weeks, as I mentioned, we did have the 5 hospitals receive the Pfizer vaccine initially. We did have the strike teams to be able to go into the nursing homes and long-term care facilities. And last week you started to see more vaccine with Moderna. A whole bunch of hospitals up and down the state were able to receive it. And so we feel really good about where they are. We think they're going to be able to really get into the communities and make a big difference. And of course, with my executive order, we are focusing on our elderly population. And so we've done about 175,000 shots as of this morning. And I think you're going to see those numbers continue to grow, not just in Florida, but throughout the country. The good thing about getting this within a year is we have it sooner. When you get it right in the holidays, the demand on Christmas Eve and Christmas did drop. And we anticipate probably the same will happen New Year's Eve and New Year's. But the bottom line is this is a statewide effort. We want to be supportive of all of our communities. And I told the mayor, we want to be here for folks in Palm Beach County. If you look at the percentage of residents who are over 65, this is one of the highest that we have in the state of Florida. So we want to be doing things, supporting efforts like what we're doing at Kings Point, but even broader efforts, and we pledge our support, financial, personnel, to be able to help get that done. So I'm going to let the mayor come up and say a few words, and then we'll be able to see the vaccines happen. Mayor?
Thank you, Governor. We're delighted and honored to have you here in Palm Beach County. And to Commissioner Sachs, thank you for having us in your district and here in Kings Point, a very special place to both Commissioner Sachs and I as well. The Governor really covered everything I was going to say and covered it very effectively. But what I will say and reiterate is that let me start by unequivocally suggesting or saying to the press here and the community at large that the difficult decision that the Governor had in terms of priority, first responders and then 65 plus, our seniors in our community, that decision accurately reflects the core values and the preferences and the beliefs of this county in particular. The Governor discussed with us how 25% of our population is over the age of 65. And members of the greatest generation that fought for this country and have seen some of the most difficult times in the history of this country deserve to be the ones protected first. And the members of this county that are not in that first round of vaccinations, we've been doing this for some time already. We know how to do this safely. We know how to social distance. We know how to not be in crowded spaces. I'm joined here by my now dear friend, Dr. Alonzo. And this community has reacted and complied very well with the recommendations that she set and the regulations and recommendations that the county leadership has set, along with the Governor. And so we also are cognizant that this is a Herculean effort. If you look at how quickly this state was able to ramp up its testing processes and procedures, this is a very similar operation to that, but it's much more intensive. It's much more labor intensive. And this is a big state. This is the third largest state in the country. And so what I would remind those watching this press conference is that the battle is not over. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. We are all very excited. We're all very pleased with having access to this vaccine and the efficacy of this vaccine. But I also need, as the county mayor, to remind our constituents that with the holidays, there is an increase in the positivity rate. Nationwide, we're seeing some very tragic things going on. And so I know that we have the willpower and the compassion in this county to remain focused on keeping our most vulnerable safe, keeping our economy healthy, and making sure we need to do what we need to do until this first round is done and access by the general public is happening. I'll also say that I had an opportunity, along with Commissioner Sachs and members of the board, to tour our vaccination site at Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, and thank you, Governor, for prioritizing our first responders. And that went off without a hitch, and they were delighted to have access to that, and we'll get them back out in the field with a modicum and measure of increased safety that those men and women in uniform really deserve. And then to the residents, thank you for your patience. And thank you for your patriotism. Thank you for having us here today. It's an honor to be with you. And I know the governor and Dr. Alonso feel the same way. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for welcoming us to your home. Governor, thank you very much for that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll watch now. When they come in, basically I see they have a form, just so people know. So you got to fill out a form, and that's providing them kind of some of the information, I guess, about the vaccine, the emergency use authorization, so that they know. And then I would imagine there's different things about their health that you want to make sure that works right.
Absolutely. There's screening questions on the form, and the nurse will go over that before administering the vaccine.
And then once the vaccine is administered, are you observing for?
Yes, for a minimum of 15 minutes, and we haven't had any problems so far, but that way the nurse can be there. There's registered nurses in the room where the clients are being observed after administering the vaccine.
And then when they, so they're here today, are they going to then be given a date to get the booster shot?
It's going to be after a 4-week period, and we're giving them information on that.
Great. Okay, so we have three folks. We're so glad you guys were able to join us today, and happy we're able to do it. You're leading the way. Look, I think all whatever happened, the facts should be out there. The fact is, there have been very, very few problems with the vaccine throughout the country and the state of Florida. And look, there's some folks who they didn't want to do it the first week, then they saw it, and then they're like, okay, now I'll do it. So, but we appreciate, I think, by you doing this, people will see it, and I think it'll really help people. So thank you for volunteering, and you want to take it away?
Sure. Okay. So I'm just going to grab your sheet of individual and look over this. Okay, did you have any questions about anything that you want to know about? We're going to put 9:15 at your time having done this. You're getting the Moderna vaccine, so after 4 weeks, you will need to get the Moderna vaccine. So I'm giving you a card, you can put your name and information on it. And it's just saying what vaccine you're getting, the date you're getting it, and you need to return in 4 weeks. So you can go ahead and feel free to hang on to that. Otherwise, I'll never left on the question of the day. Okay, what would you left on? Flu vaccine?
Yes.
So it's the same number. Hang out there. I'll get my shirt.
Do not have lollipops.
No lollipops.
Oh man, that's what we wanted.
Okay. Turn around. Bring this down. Significant other.
Okay.
You didn't peek, did you?
She's very good.
Tell her that the
Right.
is not. And what did you tell me, your left arm also? Yes.
You did Shane some time off.
We did. We gave him basically Wednesday afternoon. I was like, do what you gotta do. And then Christmas, and the day after, the
And you
weekend.
guys got that information, she did all the
Help with that.
He doesn't know.
I wanted to give him
25
all
pages
week
of homework.
because it's important.
Did everybody pass? Did y'all get A pluses?
Oh, good. I'm a lollipop too. I bet.
Yeah, you're really wanting that lollipop. We're gonna have to get you one.
And you want the red ones first?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I don't understand if you don't.
I don't either. I'm with you on that.
Absolutely don't understand why.
I don't either. I don't either. But a lot of people still say that in the future. I don't understand that either.
First Christmas for your child.
Yeah.
Is it?
And then it was the first time my son really got much for Christmas.
Really?
Oh, wow.
He's two, he's going to be 3 at the end of March, and so it's the first time he didn't quite get it. So now he enjoys it and everything. And then my daughter's a pro at it. She's 4, my oldest daughter.
How do they enjoy living in Tallahassee? Always being surrounded by all the things.
I think they don't know anymore. It's how it is. This is kind of what they're used to, and so at some point, they're going to have to do a reality check on some of this stuff. But right now, they're just sitting down. So
You're not 4 years old trying to fight it.
So, that couple runs up to you guys.
Yeah. We did our best Christmas last.
Congressman, you're seeing who this out of.
Yeah, watch out.
At least you warned me.
Yeah, I'm going to yep.
Okay. So I'm gonna get your form and let's look over that real quick.
Congress, you're there 4 days, and then there's just nothing.
Okay. And you have really confirmed your policy about it, okay.
Congress is, the Congress itself.
Jessica, what arm did you
Obviously,
want?
it's the legislative body. The way it's been in modern times, it's all so the blanket 5 member.
And I'm just the opposite. I do my dominant arm. I do, so that I make sure I use it.
So they can say, let's go. The best idea.
Yeah.
Having a less than just
No.
I left the legislature for 4 years early. I was serving Jared Massey, and she filed amendments on every bill. It's just, I'm not a legislative party.
I'm gonna give you your card, and you can put your information on the front. So you have to just make sure you get the Moderna vaccine.
Okay,
If somebody comes by and offers them something else, that you can't get that one.
okay. And that's good
Is that the card that they have?
Yes, yeah, you have to stick with, right. Stick with the vaccine.
Manufacturer, is there any problem with it? Track exactly what lot number you got.
And of course, that information is retained elsewhere as well, right? Because I'm going to lose my card. I've already lost the card. I haven't got it yet.
I forgot to tell you, Richard, not only were you not allowed to cry, but you're not allowed to pass out or anything when you're on stage. That was a condition of, that was a condition for being up on stage.
Keep your eyes smiling.
Right,
Because
right.
I can't see anything.
That's right, that's all they can see.
Although, I don't mind that because it covers up about 3 of my chins, so we're good with that too. Okay, so we're gonna do this arm also?
Yep.
Everybody's sticking with the same arm.
Yeah.
Okay, just relax your arm. Okay. Stick and everything. Down. You did not bite, okay.
You get an A in it, just
Right?
yep.
Okay.
Self-control.
Thank you.
All right.
Self-control.
So what's the verdict? Thumbs up? Everyone good? All right.
Absolutely couldn't be happier.
Absolutely.
And we will work on providing the lollipops too for people. I heard there may be an interest in doing that. So I want to thank you. Thanks folks here for well, one, just our demonstrators, and then the other seniors who are going to be able to get the vaccine today. It's really exciting. We want to keep the momentum going, and just as a state, between the hospitals, the county health, emergency management, everyone in between, really work together over these coming weeks to prioritize our elderly. And I think if we do that, I think it's going to make a really, really big difference. And so we're fortunate to be able to have great facilities like this, and obviously a county that's really, I think, standing up for our senior citizens, which is great. With that, take a few questions, and then we're going to get the vaccines started. Yes, ma'am.
Governor, the President tweeted this morning that the federal government has distributed the vaccines to the state and the exclamation point, get moving. I'm wondering, is Florida getting the vaccines directly from the federal government or the companies producing them? And also, have you spoken to the White House, the President and Vice President, about getting vaccines in Florida and how to get them?
It's a good question. So basically the question was about, are we getting vaccines directly from the federal government, or how does it work? Basically the way it works is we will get sometime during the week an allotment of, hey, here's what you're going to get next week, and then we tell them where to send it. But it's not being sent to the state. It's being sent directly to hospitals from the distribution chains, directly to county health in this situation, because we are sending them to some of those. Now, and then CVS and Walgreens, they're getting them direct. Now, we did the first week take 20,000 doses for the state because we wanted our strike teams in the long-term care facilities. But the typical dose that has been sent to Florida does not go to the state government. It is earmarked by the state government to the health facilities, and so they're doing it. And I think you are going to see it ramp up, because when we first got it, like I mentioned last week, these hospitals were getting it a day or two before Christmas. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I think there's strong demand for this, but there's not as strong demand in those days. So that's part of the reason. You're going to see some good stuff over the next couple days. New Year's Eve and New Year's will go down a little bit, and then really I think you're going to see across the country, it really ramp up. But I think the way they're doing it makes more sense than to send it to the state and then have us distribute it. It cuts out the middleman. We obviously are determining where that's going, and we're basically just trying to figure out how can this be the best force multiplier. We view our hospitals as a great asset. They've performed very well throughout the pandemic, and we believe having them with the bulk of the vaccines is going to be the most effective way of getting it to the population that needs to be vaccinated. Yes, sir.
Get those shots. Does it include the 2 shots, or is it just the 1 shot and then you're waiting 4 weeks for delivery?
Right. So whatever we get, the directives from the federal government, use what you have. We're not going to send you vaccine unless we're sure we're going to be able to have that booster shot available. So they don't want us to hold back. So if there's 100,000 doses that are sent to 5 hospitals, they want those used, and then they're telling us they're confident they're going to be able to provide the booster, at 21 days for Pfizer, 21 days for Moderna. And I think that is what's going to happen. If you look at the way the production has happened, that's the way it's going to be. Now, so they all, the residents here all got cards. The date when their booster would be up, and you don't have to get it right on the 28th day. I mean, there's a window here, so they all have that. They're all given that information. They know. I think a lot of the hospitals are actually setting appointments to be able to come back in at 21 or 28 days, depending on the vaccine. And that's just something to keep reiterating to folks. The vaccines that are available in the United States right now do require 2 doses. Pfizer a 21-day booster, Moderna a 28-day booster, and that is likely to be the case for the next couple months. As I mentioned, I tend to mention the Johnson & Johnson because I think that could be really helpful. That is the only one that we think will come anytime soon that is just the 1 dose, but they have not even finished phase 3 clinical trials. We think we're going to get some data relatively soon, and then they'll file for emergency use maybe in January, maybe early February, but then that. So anyone that's getting vaccine, all our seniors, just understand and make plans that you get the 1 shot, you do need the booster shot. Now, fortunately, this first shot they found does offer some protection. Now, you need the booster to make it as strong as the trials showed, but that is a good thing to say that if you go through the nursing homes and you give the 1 dose in the intervening time, they're going to be more protected than they were before they had that one dose. I think there's no question about that. Yes, sir. Well, I think it's so the question is about, there's obviously a crush of people that are interested. Demand exceeds supply. On the one hand, that's a good thing because this was something we want people to have confidence in. So I think clearly there's confidence in it. People feel confident about getting it. And so I think that there's been different issues. Different hospitals have done it different ways. I mean, our view is, the hospitals, whether it's online or via phone, are going to be the best avenue to be able to sign people up in those communities. And then the county health departments will be a great complement to that. And so they're going to work through issues as they happen. I think just setting the expectations that this is here. If you're someone 65 and older, you are going to get access to this. It may not be today for everyone, may not be next week, but over the next many weeks, as long as we continue getting the supply, you're going to have the opportunity to get this. And so we're going to keep working to make sure that it's done.
Any thoughts about opening up additional call centers, to help with the hydrology?
So if the hospitals need some support, we would be willing to provide that. We had some discussions with some of the big systems about, maybe they could use some more nurses and some of the other things. And so we're open to that conversation. I think my view on this is the single greatest tool we have to save lives, reduce hospital admissions. So let's put the resources we have, and we did get more money now that's going to come down very soon with this most recent bill. Let's put the resources towards that. So if a hospital needs support for that, we'll do it. If a county health needs support, we want to do that as well. I think a lot of them already have reservation systems that they use for the testing. Now, the vaccine demand is higher than the testing demand because a lot of folks, if they're not symptomatic, they're not going to go in and necessarily get a test. Vaccine, perfectly healthy people have every incentive to want to get it, and it makes sense. So we want to do, and I told the mayor, you tell us what you need to make this more effective, and we're going to provide resources for it. I think it's the number one most effective use of the money we've been given from the federal government to be able to deploy vaccine for senior citizens. And so let us know, and we want to help. Thanks, everybody.
We're seeing long lines in Broward County just this morning of general population seniors waiting for hours to go there and get this vaccine.
So you'd have to talk to figure out what hospital that's affiliated with. I mean, what I think we have confidence that the hospitals know what they're doing. If something happens where you do have lines, then I think they'll be able to figure out the best way to go. I think most of them want to have a more orderly reservation system. I don't think most of them want to just have people showing up. So I think that's the direction it's going to go. But I think it's important that the hospitals just communicate that to people. If that's the way you're doing it, saying we're going to do reservations, tell people, don't just show up, sign up. You will be given a shot. It's just a matter of getting it done. Thanks, everybody. What's that? No, so what I've said is I'm willing to take it, but I am not the priority. They're the priority. I'm under 45. And so the people under 45 are not going to be first in line for this. And so when it's my turn, I will take it. But this is who I want to be vaccinated. I want my parents, our grandparents to be able to get it. And, granted, I mean, I'm an elected official, but whoop-de-doo. At the end of the day, let's focus where the risk is.